Episode number 20 of Just Beavin is coming your way right now. No Beav this week around the holidays. He's currently traveling or has already traveled and is at a destination. He's out of town, but that's A-OK. Still got two of our three panel members, myself, Andy, along with JP, our commissioner. First round of the playoffs in the books. We will have three recaps from this past weekend, only two previews. We have four left, and little spoiler, three of the four remaining are a part of the Just Beavin panel. That wasn't intentional. There's nothing about that. It's just how it all kind of shook out. JP, how are we doing? I know we're going to get into our recaps, and I know there's some positive stuff on your end to recap. But before we do so, how are we doing on this fine Wednesday
We're
evening?
doing good, man. We're doing good. Out of school,
Yeah,
nothing but NCAA dynasty for the rest of break. Life is good.
there you go. Winter break is upon us. Christmas is in a week. Happy holidays to all of our Just Beavin listeners, viewers. Not sure based on the holiday when we'll get our next episode up after this. So, want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas. And here you have it right in front of you. Our three playoff matchups. We'll start with you, JP. A narrow victory over Matt, 133 to 122. So much back and forth in the group chat this past week between you guys trying to reverse jinx one another. I'll let you start, man. You're moving on and you're in the final four.
Yeah, I think it was last week when I scored 133 as well. I said that if both teams have a bad week, 133 is typically the better of the good or of the bad weeks, and here we are, scoring 133 and getting a win. I couldn't be happier about that. Even with like these three duds right here. I mean, Cooper Cup, a full on dud. The doll played out snapped Edwards. He played 65% of the snaps. Just they got killed, so it didn't really matter. And then Derrick Henry just not finding the end zone. That hurts. And then Kelsey Harrison, Bowers, Murray all dudding. I mean, shout out to Brian Thomas, Jettas, and Lamar for
Yeah.
literally carrying me on their back this week. But yeah, I mean, a bad week and still winning in the playoffs. I honestly couldn't be happier. That was a horrible showing. And we're gonna have to be much better. As Cam Boyer, spoiler, who I played this week, scored 155. So we're gonna have to be much better. But I do like my matchups more this week. And even in the preview last week, I mentioned how I hated all my matchups and loved a lot of Matt's matchups. So we're just happy to get a win this week.
Yeah, Matt's guys just didn't really show up. And I want to piggyback. Brian Thomas is awesome, dude. I mean,
Yeah,
considering how terrible Jacksonville has been this year, he doesn't even have Trevor Lawrence right now.
yeah,
And he is still just so talented. I believe that is Cooper Cup's first goose egg, his first game without a catch. I think 2019 was what I
yeah,
saw, what I
yep.
read, if that's right. Yeah, Marvin Bowers, that's tough, man. You've had weeks where they've both been awesome. I think the more common of what having the two is that Bowers goes off and Harrison is a little lackluster. Obviously, both not really doing much here this week. This is the one kind of question I have for you. Obviously, a win is great. You keep your season going. Do you come out of this though with more questions than answers necessarily for your next round? Or are you just chalking this up as didn't like the matchups as much and you're feeling good heading into the next round?
Quite honestly, I'm chalking it up as didn't like the matchups. I mean, if it'd be hard, this would be a Bowers three-peat for duds if he duds this week. I watched Marvin Harrison drop two touchdowns in two consecutive drives. Just unforeseen things. I mean, Henry's gonna find the end zone next week. Cup, I mean, it'd be has probably never in his career has gone two games in a row with no points. Yeah, the best part about rock bottom is you can only go up. And so I'm really just chalking this up as I didn't like the matchups and we'll be much better next week.
Most definitely. And I do want to we got to give Matt his flowers. We really do. An expansion team, 10-4. Literally, I think he texted, it was today where he texted the chat that yesterday he was up thinking about the fact that he didn't play Isaiah Likely in week one after he traded for him, and that could have been the difference between him having the one seed and where he's at right now. And just unfortunately, Josh Jacobs was great. He's been great all season. Him, Terry, DJ Moore really gave him a chance, but unfortunately, pretty much everyone else fell flat. 12.66 combined points between Stafford and Geno Smith. JP, not the way he wanted his first season in the league to end, but man, an impressive first year, considering how he got into this league and just how everything started out for him, nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Matt. I even after right after the Bryce Young trade, That fiasco, everyone wrote him off. And I remember him saying at that moment that he was gonna, sell out and make the playoffs. And he had a real opportunity here to make a deep run. I mean, we've said it in the last 6, 7 episodes. He's hot. He's the hottest team in the league. But eventually that flame's got to burn out, and it burned out here.
Yeah, no, and he'll be back, and I'm excited to see his first off season. Right now, obviously, this being his first off season, he was brought into the league last off season, his first true off season, having a set roster, and really seeing what comes of that. So that was one of our three matchups. As we move on to our second matchup, there is a lot, and it really sucks that Drew can't be on the show this week.
Yeah.
Beav broke the scoring record this past week, and
Huge
Frank,
accomplishment. I mean, he
yeah,
crushed it.
yeah, congrats to Drew, but also Frank nearly puts up 200 and loses. If he plays any other team this week, he wins, and it's not particularly close. I think this. I'm not going to try and like predict or anything, JP. I think this will be the biggest, most points scored in a loss in the history of this league. As long as we are a league, barring something crazy, I just don't foresee someone putting up 195 points and not winning their matchup. That's truly unbelievable. But I do want to start with Drew. Uh, Adams and Connor go for 70 plus. And I remember I was with Frank on Sunday. Frank and I were at the Blackhawks game on Sunday. And I look at the scores. It was after the first quarter, or we were on our way to the game. And after the first quarter, I'm like, hey, Devonta Adams is nothing, dude. Like you're like that's got to be something you're happy about. And he literally goes, I don't know, we got to wait and see. And well, 42 points later, man. I mean, Drew could not have asked for a better week out of him. James Conner's been great all season. And he did this, JP, with Amari Cooper not scoring anything.
Yeah.
He put up the most points ever with only 9 of his guys doing any of the scoring. I have on my list here to let Drew take the rest in my notes. Obviously, he's not here. So, JP, I'll let you take the rest from Drew's side of things this past week.
Yeah, I mean, to your Amari Cooper point, I don't know. I don't know what that is about, the goose egg. That's crazy to me. I didn't even see. I
Yeah.
only watched the fourth quarter. I didn't even see him on the field. Uh, in a fake world where he plays Xavier Worthy scored 20. I mean, he scores 234
34.
points. I mean, that's just unheard of. And to your earlier point about Frankie scoring, the most ever in a loss. When I scored 196 point whatever earlier in the season, that was like good for sixth all time. Frankie just scored a top 10 scoring week in the league and
And he
lost
didn't win. Yeah.
and lost. So just tough for Frankie. But the voodoo magic of Drew continues to thrive, and the voodoo magic against Frank for lack of better term, trade raping, Dade Pitchford and others at the beginning of the year continues to bite him. Frank's never going to win a championship. It's just how it's going to go. Sorry, Frank. But you have a good team, so I mean, can at least you're like the Steelers. I mean, you're always going to make the playoffs, but you're never probably going to win a championship. So, but hey, good season for you, man. But Drew, yeah, the Black Magic moves on.
Dude, I'm in Raw 37 too. Like it's an insane. It just and you look at it for everyone from Frank scored. I don't think he had a single person not in double figures. I think everyone scored at least
Everyone
10
scored double
points, man.
figures. Yeah.
It's just, I mean, it's unreal. Obviously, yes, we want to shout out Drew and wish he was on. You know, he'd be having a lot to say right now, man. But just up and down, Devonta Smith 28, Cook 26, and I mean Caleb he didn't have 10. Caleb was just
Hilar-
under 10 points.
Hilariously, when we were driving up to Minnesota, uh, Drew said that after he saw a Will Levis highlight, it was like a 28-yard pass to Calvin Ridley or something, and Drew goes, "I knew I should have started Will Levis over Caleb Williams."
-5
Well,
is
that would have
crazy.
lost him. That would have lost him 14 points. I mean, it wouldn't have changed the outcome of it, but no scoring record if he starts Will Levis there. So
Yeah, most definitely. Quite the matchup. The biggest barn burner we've ever had
insane.
in the history of this league. The amount of points that were put up between these two fellas. Unfortunately, Frank's season comes to a close. And as you mentioned, JP Drew's Black Magic lives on. He advances, and the final guy that advances to our semifinals in a pretty solid fashion, too, in a showing that he very much needed is Cam Boyer, 155 to 84 against Kale. JP, I'll let you start here. Just your initial takeaways in our 2 versus 7 matchup.
Yeah, absolutely disappointing showing from Kale. 84 points after scoring 180 the week before. It was said in the group chat all after the playoff or the first round of the playoffs concluded, that it's a disaster that Kale even made the playoffs.
One
Which
person in particular had a lot to say.
yes, one person did have a lot to say. But shout out to Jared Goff for putting up 40. Waddle Goose Egging still put up 155. But looking ahead to this next week, Tracy is questionable, Waddle's questionable, and Mixon is all questionable. And they're not just like fake questionables, they're actual questionables. So it'll definitely be interesting in the coming weeks. But good dominant win for Cam Boyer, and he definitely needed a 155 point showing. Off the top of my head, this would only be like the fourth or fifth time he even scored over 150. So shout out to him.
Dude, Debo Samuel is not good.
It's horrible.
He's actually bad.
It's terrible.
What else do I have? I mean, Aaron Jones against the Bears, you know how that normally goes. Have a week and have a year. Jonnu Smith, of all people. I mean, he has just been fantastic all season. 9 catches and a touchdown on Sunday. Yeah, that's my last point. You know, Debo still sucks. I think ironically, the only guy who showed up for Kale was Aaron Rodgers, who
Yeah.
put up 30. And also, I have down here Stone Smart question mark.
Yeah.
That
Hilarious.
was my favorite text to get in chat on Sunday is we have Stone Smart starting in a playoff game. And I want to say if he wasn't the number 2, he was a top 3 scorer for Kale
Yeah.
this
Number
week,
three.
which
Number
is
three.
which is ironic. It just in everything really. The Tua Tyreek thing really let him down. Did Tyreek get hurt during that game? I had no following in that game at all.
Yeah, he
I know
got
he's
hurt during
banged up.
that game.
Okay, so that doesn't help. But Tua was just bad. I mean, Jamar with 18, and that's still the fact that it's 18 and yet it's under his projection is pretty wild. I think that shows you how much, Jamar Chase can do to a team. But I mean, even if Jamar Chase had one of his 40, 50 point games, it wouldn't have affected the outcome of this one. Uh, First time ever, the 7 seed is lost in the Beaverfest playoffs. For those who know, our first 2 years as a league, the 7 seed won the whole thing. That will not happen this year. We will get a different seed crowned the champion this season. Those are the 3 matchups from week 15, our quarterfinals, round 1 of the playoffs, and we are down to 4. Myself, JP, Cam Boyer, and Mr. Drew Grossenheider. We will start, JP, with your matchup against the Moodang Maulers. Thoughts, feelings? I know we've kind of already talked about it through the recap, but want you to walk me through your matchup here.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that Pittsburgh or Baltimore watches the Pittsburgh Philly film and just duplicates what Philly just did. They torched the defense, and Hurts looked like a good quarterback. Because I'm going to need Lamar and Henry to do something against this defense that I thought was impenetrable. But if we go all the way back to whatever week these two played again, or played earlier in the season, I did feel like it just happened. So the Week 11 podcast, if you go back to that, I mentioned how the Baltimore Pittsburgh games are always like stupid, ugly slugfest, where it's 17 to 13, 16 to 19 final scores. So I'm not too optimistic about that. I'm still troubled on who I'm going to start at my second running back position. I literally have no clue, and I won't know until 7:14 on Thursday. Cooper Kupp against New York. That secondary has been absolutely terrible, so we should be able to torch that. Jefferson's going to eat. Brian Thomas is always going to eat. But I really need this stretch right here to show up. All 4 of these guys. Kyler's been bad. They're playing Carolina. If you can't get Marv going this week, it might be time to throw in the towel. If I somehow advance next week, I'm going to have to seriously consider benching Marv for the championship. And then I really need something out of my tight ends this week. I'm going to need Bowers to go off. That should be like a stupid, gross Aiden O'Connell and the Raiders score, 24 and the Jaguars score 28 or something ugly. But yeah, I mean, if Marv can't get going this week, I'm definitely gonna smash the panic button because it's been a good amount of weeks since he's scored 15 or up. It may even be like week 6 or something since he's gone off, which is really worrisome. But yeah, just looking over at Cam's matchups, he's got favorable matchups here. Aaron Jones against a weak Seattle run defense. Jordan Love against a terrible New Orleans defense. Johnny Smith's the GOAT. Debo Samuel's bad. If I can get 2 of his guys and Tracy, Waddle, or Mixon to not play this week, I'll feel much better. But the projections have me by 17, and I'm just not buying into that. Projections mean absolutely nothing in the playoffs. So that means nothing to me. Take it one game at a time. But yeah, as you know, if I do end up playing Kamani Vidal, hopefully you get 65% of the snaps again. But that's all I got for my matchup.
Yeah, I think the one thing I'll add with your Steelers Ravens weird games, what makes it even weirder this week is it's 3:30 on a Saturday.
Saturday,
I hate these Saturday games,
same so much.
especially now three college football playoff games this upcoming
Yeah,
Saturday. I think it's stupid, but here we are, and we're gonna have to deal with it. What's the other game again on Saturday? I don't remember. I know it's
Texans,
Pittsburgh.
Chiefs.
Oh, okay, there you go. And there will be impacts on that. Obviously, you having Kelsey, if Mixon's a go for Cam. Yeah, the Saturday games are dumb as it is, and I know things are going to get weird this weekend. I agree with your point on Marv. I do like Cam's matchup as well. I'll make my pick for this week. Health is wealth. I always say it. JP, you have the healthier team right now. And it's I know it's a down week last week for you at 133. You got the job done. Your team is here for a reason. I like what a lot of your guys are bringing as well. I'm not as worried about that second running back spot for you just because of the, high dud percentage of some of Cam's receivers. We'll see what happens. I agree with you. Projections in the playoffs mean nothing. This will be a lot closer than what it says. But I do have you prevailing in this matchup. I'm not making the same mistake I made last week in picking against you. I'm going to side with you this week and have you moving on to the championship.
Love to hear it.
And obviously, JP going to pick himself as well. And this is also why I really wanted to have Drew on here. I've drawn the Beaver himself. I said on last week's show, I don't care who I play because everyone's a worthy team. I take that back. I wish I was playing Kale right now. More or less, I don't even mean that just because he had a dud week. With my luck, I'd play Kale. Jamar would have 50 and I'd lose by 30 points. I didn't want to play Drew. We've said this before. Luke was the one who coined the term, the black magic that Drew has, at least on the show. I think JP, you've said it well before that as well. It's known that Drew has weird magic when it comes to the fantasy football realm. And I hate the fact that he's my playoff matchup as the bye. It concerns me to no end. It doesn't even matter. I'm worried my guys are going to have great weeks and the same thing can happen. But then again, I'm also telling myself Drew can't go for 200 again, but I don't know. It's just tough. And this is another stat I'll throw out there. Obviously, Drew didn't make the playoffs last year. He got the first pick, but because he won the championship in the first year and he won last week, Drew's never lost a playoff game. I've made the playoffs the last 2 years and I've gotten bounced in the first round. Something new could happen for the first time this weekend. I could win my first playoff game in this league, and Drew could lose for the first time in the playoffs, or Drew could move to the championship. I'm worried about some guys on my team. DK Metcalf proved nothing to me this past weekend. I was hoping to see something from him that made me confident for this weekend. He didn't. I'm very concerned. I have to play him though, because it's a similar thing of I know if I don't play DK Metcalf, he'll go for 25 and he'd be a reason why I lose. I like the fact that I have Alvin Kamara on Monday Night Football. Even though it's against Green Bay, it's a tougher matchup. It gives me a good feeling having a guy going. I don't believe Drew has anyone on New Orleans or Green Bay. It could be wrong.
He doesn't.
It gives me the shot to have the last say in this game. I know that sounds really weird and it doesn't make sense, but I know that if it's within striking distance, this matchup couldn't be controlled by me. I like Burrow against Cleveland. A-Chain's going to do A-Chain things. Not worried about that. As long as Puka stays healthy, he's good there. If you scroll down, though, I think the biggest news for me out of this past week, and obviously it's never good to root for an injury or, be happy about an injury. I'm not happy that Nick Chubb broke his foot. But because of that, I all of a sudden have a RB1 in this league that I can play in Jerome Ford. I am going to play Jerome Ford this week. It's one of those where, funny enough, I trade for Tank Dell. I gave up a second in Cole Kmet. And there's a good chance Tank Dell stays on my bench this week because I can't trust that guy either. So it all starts on Thursday Night Football. I got Justin Herbert against Denver. We'll see what happens. I am scared of Drew's team. Some of his matchups are very favorable. I hate that Sam Laporte is playing the Bears. I know, he's been up and down this season, but I can just see him scoring twice on Sunday because that's just what happens against the Bears. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's kind of all I feel. I hope David Njoku plays. David Njoku didn't play last week. I really need him to play because my point continues to stand that Jake Ferguson is nothing without Dak Prescott. I will get zero production from the tight end position if Njoku doesn't play. So there's a lot of balls in the air on my side. I am going to pick myself, but I think this is the least confident I have felt in my team given the circumstances. Oh, also, my team scored 126 points last week, the lineup I set.
We were talking about that. We made a big when it was me, Dade, Luke, and Drew. We made a huge talking point about that. How you would have lost to
Yeah,
everyone who won. Yeah,
I would have lost everyone except if I drew Matt. That would have been funny. If it was me against Matt, the one guy I really didn't want to play, I would have beat Matt by 4 points. Um, no, dude. I mean, my team looked. It was a bad showing. I
yeah,
honestly feel like I don't deserve the bye. I don't deserve to be in this position right now. If I was making a legitimate, like I'm picking who I think is going to win, I think Drew is going to win. I'm not just saying that. I'm not a reverse jinx guy. I stopped doing that a long time ago. But I am legitimately nervous about this, and I just in my gut, I have a feeling it doesn't end well. I hope I'm wrong. I hope my guys prove me wrong. Drew just has his way at this, man, and he's got the better team. That's just how it is. But I'm staying hopeful, and we'll see what happens. I don't know what else you have to add, JP.
I actually love your matchups. DTR loves Njoku. I think this is gonna be a Njoku feast of a game. I hate most of Drew's matchups, but I'm taking Drew to win it. You kind of broke down everything I was gonna say. I'm not picking against Drew's black magic.
And
Uh,
man, I'm
I'm
not. I'm
just
not
not
doing
gonna
it as
do
a
it.
jinx. I
Yeah,
promise. You know that too. Not doing it as a jinx. But when I saw that I drew, no pun intended. I just am like, it's all in the fantasy gods' hands at this point, man. There's not much I can do because that's
yeah,
just how the Beaver is, and that's just how things go.
yeah.
But we'll
That
see. And also, you know me, I'm in the media. I'm one for the storylines. If it is you and the Beaver, we get the cousins matching up in the championship. And I think that would be obviously some people in this league. I know pretty much everyone doesn't really want Drew to win a second championship before most people have gotten there first. But that is, if you're looking for storylines in Beaverfest, that would be one that, yeah, if JP and Drew both win this week, we have a cousin championship next week. I don't know. I'm happy that I'm here. I feel like I've been given a second chance by, I mean, the bye is my second chance. I would have gotten crushed last week. So hoping most of the opportunity is made here. But at the same time, I'm going into this matchup. Somehow you feel like coming off a bye, you're pumped going in. All right, let's go. I'm excited to be in the playoffs. I could not be more defeated going in, which really stinks. I hope Justin Herbert goes for like 25 on Thursday Night Football and gives me that boost. But he's got a good team, man. And his guys are so much more likely to boom in a big way than mine are. I have a lot of guys who can go for 15 to 20, but he's got guys who can go for 35, 40. I mean, you saw it last week with Connor and Adams. Not saying that's going to happen again. James Conner against Carolina. Are you kidding? That that spells trouble. I'm very, very concerned about that. So we'll see. That's just how it is. I know we're kind of like done with the picks because it's how it is. I picked against both you guys last week. I have JP. I'm doing what I usually do, picking myself to beat Drew, but I'm telling everyone right now that that's just kind of the shtick. I really do think Drew's going to win this week, and I hope he knows too that I'm not doing the reverse jinx crap. That's not what I'm doing. It's just how things line up. I don't know if you got anything else to add, Mr. Commissioner, but those are our previews for the week.
yeah. No, nothing else from me.
There you go, folks. Promised it was going to be a shorter episode. That's what happens when we get to the playoffs. Three matchups from our quarterfinals from the first round. We have our final four. Who will make it to the third Beaverfest Championship? We will see you all next week. Have a fantastic holiday. Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of Just Beavin. We will catch you next time.